All right, looks like I'm learning something here today. Streaming on YouTube, so you can actually broadcast Zoom to YouTube.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah, it comes in quite handy.
I mean, I was aware that we've seen meetings on Facebook Live, and our church is doing it on Facebook.
That's how some people have gotten in trouble and have ended up on the news because they don't realize, I think, that they're live on YouTube. Not with the city, I'm just saying, and in the country, there's been a lot of Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
I saw one video where a lawyer came on as a cat and he didn't know how to turn that filter off.
Nice. There was a school board in California that got in trouble recently too because they were talking and they didn't know they were live, and they were talking about how the parents were mad because they lost their babysitters and they couldn't sit home and drink wine and smoke pot all day.
Yeah, that was bad. I watched that one.
Yeah, I did see that. I think we got 3 board members right now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey there, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Jamie?
Doing great.
All right, so we got 4 board members, but we still need Heather or Troy?
I'm on here, Troy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see you now. I'm sorry.
I'm the little square right there.
All right, good deal. I see Heather too.
Just got here.
All right, okay.
Guess Troy doesn't want anybody to see him.
I'm incognito. I think Mary Catherine's standing on the sidewalk.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah. This sign ended up in my office because no one else wanted it. It moved from City Hall chambers and it was in the way to a conference room and it was in the way to the lobby. It was in the way. And I finally said, just put it in my office. But now it's become a good background for Zoom meetings.
I like it.
Appropriate.
I like it. All right. We have a minute, I think. Do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay. I'll wait one more minute. Is Doug on?
Yes.
Okay,
Who?
I don't see him. Okay.
You got me?
Aha, now I got you.
All right.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and start. It's 4 o'clock, so let's call to order the meeting for City of Conway's Community Appearance Board. Anybody have anything they want to add or say about the minutes or make a motion to approve them?
I make a motion, we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Let's move on to certificates of appropriateness. Peanut Warehouse.
All right, so the applicant is seeking approval of screening for 3 HVAC units, 2 on the side of the building and 1 in the rear, and 2 sets of 10-foot by 5-foot stairs, which will be located on the side of the building. There was a site plan and elevations in your packet as well. Currently, some of the HVAC units and the stairs are shown to be in the R.J. Corman right-of-way. The city is in the process of obtaining the property, at which time they'll transfer the portions of the property where the HVAC units and stairs are encroaching to the property owners, pending city council approval. CAB today is considering the screening and the stairs, as permits cannot be issued until the property issues are cleared up. And that should occur over the next few weeks. And
You're able to show us those? Okay, yeah.
I need to recuse myself from that too,
Yeah.
because I'm, okay.
Okay, so now what are we approving today?
the screening for the in the RJ Corman right away, the screening for the HVAC unit. And I'll just let Jamie kind of go over that with you.
Okay, so what we're applying for is here, we have applied for a permit to put in air conditioners or heating and cooling to climatize the peanut warehouse. In doing so, when the Burris Company gave the city the land around the peanut warehouse is just the actual the building itself. So anything outside of that, like where you would normally set an air conditioner, is on the city property or the RJ Corman property. So, and that's why we're applying for, the screening and just making sure everything's okay with the HVACs. And then we had asked for the proposed stairs, because can you go back to like the floor plan? The 2 sliding doors on the side, if you look, most of what we have are weddings, because we have taken this over. We've been talking about the work we've been doing down there, but our thoughts are to put a bridal room right there behind the existing bathrooms, and we wanted the stairs to be able to come out so a bride could go out without being seen. So that
I
was
was
the,
just about to ask that. Okay.
so that's, and then to the north of that, or to the top of it, we were a gentleman's room where the groom, or a groom's room, where they would get ready. So we're just asking for those, just to see what CAB would think about it,
So I have a question. Why
Yes.
couldn't the bride's room move to where the groom's room is? Because that seems to be a little bit more private and not behind the bathrooms, and men just don't typically seem to care.
Well, because it's the part behind the bathrooms is bigger.
Okay.
And, you always give the lady the bigger closet,
Yeah, for
bigger
sure.
bathroom, and everything. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's the only reason for it.
okay. Any comments?
Nope.
What
Anybody
we-
want-
Jamie, do you need a sidewalk beyond that around the HVAC pads if that's even further outside the property?
Well, the city is talking about putting a sidewalk through there. They had a plan at one time. And no, we don't really have anything. It's kind of rock now. So we don't have any plans to do that. We were just going to kind of wait and see what the city came up with when they did the right of way there.
And I can add a little bit to that. We're taking it alley by alley through downtown, trying to beautify it. We're currently working on Teal Alley, which came before you. This is on that list of alleys to beautify. So it's something, like Jessica mentioned, the location of this will also have to be approved by city council, because it will become city property once the right of way is turned over. So it's something that will be incorporated in that design for that alley.
Okay. Any other comments?
And was
Motion.
there, Jamie, are you just gonna screen them with the same material that the Peanut Warehouse's exterior skin is?
That's what, so on the side closest to the alley, you can see where I showed it. The brick is kind of high there. I think it's like 32 inches high. I'm kind of at the board's leisure there. I don't mind doing it with the cypress, or I could do it with the brick. The only problem with the brick is I was worried about trying to match it. So what I was showing was just proposed with the cypress.
You were concerned about matching the brick on the whole side? Like where I'm saying like the wood look?
No, with the screening, Troy was asking me. Yes,
I see
with that wood
yeah.
look. I just didn't know if we could match the brick, and if you'd want brick on brick, or if
Yeah,
we just wanted to do the if we wanted to do. I showed it as the wood just for illustration purposes. But I'm open to whatever y'all think.
And I believe the guidelines do allow for either.
Is there a drawing of it?
Start.
So-
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Duck,
Yeah,
This is Trip. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
I'm sorry about that. I was late on getting it.
Doug, what are you looking for?
is there a drawing of the,
that is the drawing of the side of the building there, Mr. Duck. And if you,
Yeah.
I don't know if you can zoom in, but along the foundation, that's the two places for the HVAC screens.
oh, okay, I got them. Okay,
Yeah. They would just be low. It would just be enough to cover the heating and cooling unit is all it would be.
And I guess, Jamie, this is Jacqueline. As far as what material you use, I think either would be fine, and I would just leave it to your discretion.
Yeah.
If the brick's not going to match, that's a judgment call. So I'm fine with the cypress. I think that's lovely as well.
Yeah, and just match it to the warehouse itself.
just like.
Yeah, and that's what I thought, because on the RJ Corman side, it's a solid brick wall, but if you go on the riverside, it's on piers. And so what we were going to do is we're going to go back and screen in with like lattice with the cypress there, you know, in some of our finishing up. So I thought the cypress would look better too.
Yeah, we agree, I think we agree.
That's,
So anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so moved. All right, 975 Second Avenue.
I'm sorry. So the applicant is proposing, oh, I'm sorry, wrong one. I was getting ahead of myself. The board gave final review to a proposed restaurant, which was then proposed to be called Under the Bridge Seafood Steaks and Spirits at 975 Second Avenue in March 2019. The applicant recently applied for a permit for the proposed restaurant at this location. In reviewing the permit, staff found several changes in the elevations that were submitted with the permit application versus what this board approved in 2019. Some of those changes include relocating the office entry to the left side, changing the main entrance to have a separate takeout door and adjust service doors, changing the screening material on the rear and sides to glass to allow for year-round dining, increase the area of vertical siding on the right side to screen all coolers and mechanical service equipment, change the access stairs and ramp on the front and sides to improve access to the restaurant, and adjust the canopy on the left side to match the entrance. So what I have here is the elevations that were approved in 2019. And I can keep going back and forth if you like. And this is what they propose now. So the overall project received approval in 2019. These are just some minor changes that they had in the permit application. And because they are changes in locations of things, the CAB does need to re-review those. And I will turn it over to Steve at this time, and he can further explain.
Good afternoon. I'm Steve Strickland with the Earthworks Group. I've got Trip Neely, our client, who is going to get this thing back up and running again. Been working with a restaurant consultant to actually create from what was a conceptual plan into a working restaurant. And when we were working with the restaurant consultant, he noted a couple of things that needed to be improved upon to improve the chance of this restaurant success. Restaurants are a roll of the dice sometimes, and if you don't do as much as you can to get it right, you can fall all over yourself. As we went through, we tried to reproduce what had been approved as closely as possible. There were some minor changes, and we'll start with the change in the office entrance. It was suggested to move the office entrance to the side so that we wouldn't create any confusion with people who were coming to the restaurant and walking up into the entrance of the office and thinking they were coming to the restaurant. So in terms of what it does to the aesthetics, it just moves that door onto the side. We've kept that wood frame canopy with the metal roofing consistent with what was previously approved, but that becomes the main entrance into that office area. So patrons to the restaurant, when they come up and approach the building, they know that there is one entrance at the front, and that is the restaurant. The second change was we added a takeout door, and y'all know as well as everyone else, with COVID, the restaurant business was severely impacted, and they had to change the business model. And so takeout business is a much bigger part of the equation. And the restaurant consultant indicated that we should have a door dedicated to takeout, so people that are coming to pick up food, and particularly when you have the curbside service, the people in the restaurant can see the car pull up, and as soon as they see them pull up and they text, then the staff can walk out the takeout door deliver the food and take care of it. Those were the two biggest changes on the front of the building. We'll still have whatever that custom door design is, similar to what was previously approved. And then going on the right side of the building where the service area is, our mechanical equipment, the HVAC for the restaurant and the coolers and all are all behind that screening area. And we've just expanded it so that the amount, now that we know how big of a cooler do you have to support the restaurant and how big of a mechanical system and how many different air handlers you've got to have, we've adjusted that screening consistent with what the previously approved look was to give us full coverage of that side. So anybody that's on the Riverwalk won't see the coolers, they won't see the mechanical equipment. What they'll see is basically a elevation of wood screening. Addressing the rear of the restaurant where it previously had shown a screened porch, what the consultant had told us is that would give us some severe limitations when it's really hot and when it's really cold. And the idea of trying to put heaters and fans in that area so you have a screened dining area may not be as effective. So what had previously had a look of a screened porch, we basically changed that to a glass enclosure in the same areas so that they can have year-round dining. What we've seen over in Murrells Inlet is that pretty much from Valentine's Day all the way up till Christmas, the restaurants are busy. As long as you've got a place for them to go and it's comfortable, they'll come in the spring and the winter. What happened in a lot of restaurants on the Marsh Walk was they started off with screen. They went to an Easy Breeze product, which is like a plastic sliding window that slides up and you can open it up and then you can close it up in the winter. But from an energy efficiency standpoint, trying to put the additional heating in there in the wintertime, it didn't make sense. So this change gives us a full usage year-round at this facility. We still kept in the initial drawing, we didn't have that wall below it. As you know, we lifted this entire restaurant up out of the river floodplain because, and you're seeing it now, when the river comes up, we still have to be able to have this facility operational. So basically this restaurant has come up. You'll still have the porch and the view of the building over the river walk. And when we did that, we changed the walkways to adjust and accommodate getting from the back porch of the restaurant down onto the river walk. But that were the main changes that we had to implement into these plans to go from a conceptual view of a restaurant to a set of construction documents that we can take into permitting and start this project. And if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
This is a lot for me to take in over a computer screen as well, but you're asking us to approve this design today?
That is correct.
Jessica, in the past notes, as far as approval, did we discuss the windows, what they're made of? Can you flip back to the picture of there? So is this the proposed design now?
No, that was the approved
This
rendering.
was previous design.
Okay, so is there no rendering of what is proposed like this that we can see in like a 3D image?
We didn't colorize it or create it from SketchUp. Essentially, the building shape remains the same. The minor changes are just if you look at that top, that entrance into the into the office there, that just got moved to the side.
Yeah, basically, they're not asking for, you know, a re-review of materials or, you know, the overall concept of the project, just changing some minor details of the project, such as the entrance door location, changing the screening to being enclosed year round, and the screening for the HVAC and other mechanical utilities on the side of the building were the main things.
Yeah, just going back to that entrance, you can see we're not going to change the colors or the look. It's just changing the location of where you enter the building. And for the office space that's going to be in that corner, we're just moving the entrance around the corner so that someone coming to the restaurant doesn't go to the wrong door.
Steve, this is Jerry Wallace. I have a question. The glass on the riverside, is that just fixed windows, or is that an operable glass wall, or what?
Conceptually, we had looked at it being operable windows, but if you go back to the original rendering, if you look at go back to the original color rendering. If you look at how those screens are shown in there, that could be done either with commercial glass to get that same wide open look. And I don't know that we're opposed to that. We want to maintain the views out onto the river because that's the value of the location. People want to come down to the Riverwalk and they want to see the river. So in terms of staying consistent with what was originally approved, that can be changed out to a commercial storefront type glass, and you're going to end up with essentially the same look.
Well, I kind of like that without all the window muntins in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can remove all the mullions and everything, and just it'll actually make it a little simpler to build going with the storefront glass on that back. And we can go with a bronze type frame with a little bit of tint on the window, and it's going to look essentially what you're seeing in that rendering.
Of course, I'm just one person on the committee now.
No, I agree.
I agree with you, Mr. Jerry. No, Steve, what type of windows are going everywhere else?
Yeah.
If you look on the front elevation, you see those look like a standard double hung window.
Yes, sir.
It's essentially going to be that same window.
But what material is that window?
This wood is what I've got quoted, the same as what's in it now.
Okay, good. Thank you for that answer. Jamie, does that answer your question too?
Yes, that answers my question.
Yeah, essentially our materials are trying to mimic the building that's there, just bringing it to today's standards with building materials.
Are those windows operable or are they just fixed?
That would be operable.
So they are actual double hung windows.
Yes, sir.
So to go back to those rear windows along the restaurant, if we take those mullions out and it just becomes a large fixed panels, that would be preferable?
Yes.
Okay. I don't see any issue with that.
Jerry, what about what do y'all think about the mullions on the other windows?
I think the street side is fine. It really fits what the warehouse is. I just think for aesthetics on the riverside, the clearer the better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I would concur. Stylistically on the front, that's not the view. So, where the view is, even when you're building something on the ocean front or something, they want you to keep the style, around the front. But in the back where the view is, you can open it up.
And you sort of alluded to the door. You said, what is the door going to be?
The entry door,
Either the takeout or the entry door.
go back to the original approval. The original approval basically was vague, saying it was going to be a custom designed door. But I would see that we would either have commercial glass consistent with the mullion patterns in the windows, which would make the most sense, unless we could come up with something relatively unique and architectural. You see where it says decorative custom front door?
Yeah, that's what I was, I just wanted to know what that meant.
Trip, do you have anything picked out, or have you found something?
I don't have anything picked out. What I've got them looking for is something with a yellow pine type door. Nothing modern looking or anything. I want to make it look as much like the old building as possible. The siding we're going to be using now is, that's the yellow pine also that I presented in the first meeting. And I'd like to make the door consistent with that.
With
So
glass,
realistically, that would be something that we can bring back once we've found that specific door material.
Preferably, yes. And you said the windows there will be also the white pine, or no?
Yellow pine, just to be the
Oh,
same
sorry,
thing.
yellow pine, yeah. Apologize.
But I would say that the takeout door and the main door would be basically similar in style.
I mean, I would like to see that. I apologize.
No, no problem.
Okay.
If-
When that is, when the design has, when you come up with the design, so we could look at it, if you wouldn't mind.
And
Okay.
that's fine. I mean, they could, if the board chose to approve the revisions, they could bring that back at a later time. And it shouldn't hold up their permitting process to do that.
Right, we can submit cut sheets on those doors once they've been sourced.
that would be good.
So what does everybody think about the revisions?
Well, I will note, this is Troy, I will note
Yeah.
that the entrance to the business office is, I think we were all trying to get that kind of tucked around the side in a better fashion than the original, because it was always competing. And I think
Right.
that this is a better version of that.
Yeah. Definitely.
I agree. I think it looks good. I like the revisions.
Anyone else?
It looks like you added a second stair to the water side.
Originally, there was a ADA ramp going to the front and to the rear. And Chuck Malonzi, our architect, went through and looked at it and said that we did not need to add that ramp. One ADA ramp at the front would be adequate to serve the facility. So we simplified that back and just have two stairs going, one to each side, coming down to the Riverwalk. So anyone that's walking down the Riverwalk would be able to go up into the rear of the building via stairs. And then anyone that needed accessible access would come through the front door of the building. And the ramp on the front would serve both the office space and the restaurant space. So we basically just eliminated a little bit of extra ramp footage on the side of the building, so the side of the building is not as cluttered. If you go to the original rendering, look at that side elevation, there's a lot going on that side.
It looks like the ramp wasn't even to the Riverwalk anyway.
Correct.
So,
yeah, I mean, there's that side was very busy, and we were trying to simplify rather than having a set of stairs, a ramp, and then another set of stairs to the office door. What we've done is we've reduced it in the new proposed elevation to a single set of stairs at the rear going down to the river walk, and then just a walkway to that office. So it makes that side elevation a lot cleaner.
Okay, and you keep saying, and sorry if I have misunderstood, new proposed elevation. So this is different than what we approved.
No. What you're seeing is what was revised.
Okay, all right. You keep saying new elevation, so I was concerned.
What you're seeing on the screen is the new elevation, and that right side elevation where the office entry has been moved to the side. Instead of having an additional set of steps going to the door on the side of that building, we just extended the walkway around, so it gives it a cleaner look.
Okay, and did we ever decide on the tribute to the floods on the back of the building on the riverside?
Trip?
I think he had brought that before us separately.
He did, but I don't remember it being decided.
It hasn't.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, Trip had suggested that we go on the front face of the portion of that wall that's to remain, and basically get some brass plaques with the year noted to mount on that wall so you could see what the flood elevations were in different years.
Yeah, but there was something that he brought to us that was different than what he first brought to us. Was it the brass plaques?
It was the sign. It was the sign company. That's a completely different request. And what they brought when they brought back the wall sign for under the bridge, because it was getting close to 2 years since y'all had reviewed that. He also brought back some changes for those markers that he was going to put on the building, but y'all wanted to see something different and requested some changes. I don't recall exactly what the conversation was, but we did make those changes, and I'm sure once it gets closer to actually implementing or installing them, that you'll see that come back before you.
Okay, so this is not involved today.
That's
I would really like
all signage out.
I would really like to just put that off to a later date, because I've got a couple of different options as far as tenants and partnerships. I don't have it finalized, so the name could change. I'd like to just bring that all back to you at one time, if that be all right.
Yes, sir. That'll be considered separate from these changes. Whenever you're ready or your sign person is ready to bring them back, we'll bring those back at a later time.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Board? If not, does somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we approve it with the exception of the riverside windows where we want some large clear glass.
Well said.
I'll second.
I'd like to add on that the entrance and takeout doors have come back for approval.
Right, Jerry, since you made the first motion, do you want to add that, please?
I will amend my motion to include that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So moved.
Okay, I will revise these elevations and get them back over to you, Jessica. It'll probably be tomorrow, and I'll make a note that the windows will basically be large commercial frames, and then the cut sheets for doors will be submitted.
That sounds good.
Great. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for your time. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Jessica, I don't know if we need to move to this, because I'm actually going to make a motion that this next item on the agenda be deferred until our meeting in March.
Okay, well, it's on the agenda. I would probably go ahead and, let's just present it. And since it's on the agenda and.
I think I can make a second to Heather's motion.
I don't-
And
Yeah,
perhaps put it to a
I don't
board
want
vote.
it presented if it is what was shown to us from the paper. And it doesn't, I mean, it's just too big of a project for us, I think, to see over Zoom. So,
So perhaps if I'll second your motion, Heather, to postpone until the next meeting in person. And I think we just, with a board vote, we can determine to postpone.
Yeah, I would just recommend for Robert's Rules of Orders, you might want to just another board member other than the chairman actually make the motion.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion.
Okay, and I'll second Doug's motion.
okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Just so that we're making sure we're, following Robert's.
I figure, but okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody else?
Aye, sorry. Couldn't hit the.
Okay, thank you. Because I know our next meeting is supposed to be in person, and it's just too big of a project and an issue to look at over Zoom.
Okay, is this just for the Kingston Street, or can we move on to the?
Both of them.
Both of them.
Okay, so we'll probably need to do a motion, unless they want to clarify their motion to defer both the Kingston Street and the Riverwalk projects, just so we have it clear for the record.
I make a motion to defer both the Kingston and the Riverwalk project till the next meeting.
I'll go ahead and again and second that for Doug.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody else?
Aye.
Is the applicant on the call, Mr. Fitzpatrick? I thought I saw his name.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say so moved. So this will be, both of these will be deferred until our March 10th in-person meeting. Oh, and, okay, go ahead, and I'll bring it up in board input. So do we have any public input? Seeing none, do we have any more board input than something I'm going to say? Anybody?
I do have one thing. If you guys could let us know the proposed, what is it, the mixed use right there on the Riverwalk?
Yeah.
How is that elevation of that building compared to the lower warehouse that's being raised?
I can certainly at the next CAB meeting add that so you all can compare. Of course, there's no building plans at this point, so I couldn't tell you the actual number as far as elevation goes compared to the proposed Lower River warehouse. And until there's building plans, unless the applicant, he might be able to tell you, but other than that, I can put up a side by side. I just don't know if that's going to answer the question that you have.
Well, my only question is the elevations of it. It appears that it's built like on a slab, I guess. And I just didn't know if that would make it more or less acceptable to flooding compared to like the bonfire and the building that we're approving.
I got you.
I agree with you, Matt. I think it's going to be raised up higher than that compared to the building we just looked at.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that it was. Trying not to create a burden here in the long run.
You saying just the natural elevation of the land?
Right. Is it going to be on a slab or will the building be raised?
Okay.
On the proposed elevation is what I think what Matt's talking about, Jessica.
Okay,
Correct, Amy.
I'll see what I can find out for you before the next meeting.
And on that note, is there any way that we can be sent what we actually did approve 2 years ago before that meeting? So we may have a chance to look over that, as well as if any of the board members has any suggestions is not the right word, but if you have any pictures of places that you think look a little bit more like Conway, could you just, Jacqueline's going to compile something for us so that we can have suggestions ready, more in fitting with Conway. So if you could send them to her, before the next meeting.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
And what are you requesting? You said what you approved or looked at 2 years ago. Which project are you referring to?
I don't remember the architect, the apartments.
The apartments. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're talking about the one that Van Watts did.
Yes, I knew it started with a
4
V.
years ago.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Just so we can see that, as a comparison. And then also, if there are any more suggestions as to what everyone thinks that the look should be a little bit more like, not only for the apartments, but for the brewery and the other buildings.
I'll go ahead and put this, because this was one thing I was going to bring up. I don't think the brewery should look like the peanut warehouse. I think they, when they said before, and I wasn't in that meeting, they kind of borrowed from it. I think it looks a lot like it.
I wasn't in that meeting either. And to me, it looks like Conway Elementary School.
Yeah.
So, I heard from that meeting that suggestions were given, and it doesn't seem that many were taken. So if y'all have something to send to Jacqueline, let's just be really prepared for our next meeting with suggestions.
Yeah, I think they went the opposite way of what we approved or suggested. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I just, I talked with, I've talked with Jessica before, and I've talked with Mary Catherine, and I mean, I know the issues, but I just have issue with, not gonna say the meaning, but how things are presented to the public that makes it look like something that we have approved when we have not approved it.
Right. And I hope, hopefully your question was answered, that was more of a property type thing that was.
Doesn't matter. It didn't say it was a property transfer in the paper. And that's what people see. So, and I mean, I know you have nothing to do with that. So I'm just going to put it on the record that, the meeting that was held in September, when it was just a conceptual review, got printed. So that, the public believes that that's something that we approved, and it said and gave an okay or go ahead. And then this last one on February 11th, I think it was February 11th, here's this huge article and pictures of something that is said it's going on the riverfront.
Yeah, and I do understand the board's concern. The issue is that it's, we can't, it's, public information, especially if they go through FOIA. And, I don't know if maybe Mary Catherine can better address it, as far as having control over, what's actually, put in the paper, especially if they went through the proper channels to obtain that information. But I do understand your concern.
And like Jessica said, that anytime something's submitted, it does become public information, but we can certainly, we have good relationships with the local media outlets. So that's something we can ask to be a little more clear in the future. But I just want to make sure, that CAB understands that the approval that was given, and it wasn't even an approval, it was just a decision to move forward on negotiations for the property, because those properties are currently owned by the city. Had nothing to do with the aesthetics of the building, had nothing to do with design approvals. That is completely up to CAB. So that's not, I just want to make it clear that council didn't give a sweeping approval of the design. It was a completely separate conversation that had to do with the ownership of the property itself. So, you know, the applicant, that's just another step in the process to move these projects forward. So I just wanted to clarify that.
No,
Right,
that,
I just have a question. I'm still relatively new to the board, and is it often, or Jessica, is it often that we give time for preliminary reviews? Is that typical? This is the only kind of two property groups or two properties that I've seen come up. Is that typical? And then also, are we maybe sending the wrong message to potential projects? I'm just asking for.
Well, I can tell you what I've done and what has been done historically as, at a staff level, is that when it's a new project or something that could have a more substantial impact, development wise, we always ask for conceptual, preliminary, and then final review. It's just a sign for a building that's already there, a business that's already established. It's, you could always, they could ask for final review, and then if there needs to be changes, they can come back. But it seems a little bit of a stretch to make them go for a conceptual, a preliminary, and a final for something as simple as a sign or a screening enclosure as you reviewed today or something of that nature. But for anything that's going to be like infill development or new construction, that is, why we give CAB 3 reviews: a conceptual, a preliminary, and then a final. They wouldn't move forward with final until they've satisfied all of CAB's concerns.
So by our board, when they came to us with a conceptual presentation, we were not asked to approve anything, but I guess they sort of passed that conceptual hurdle. Did we give the impression of green lights to the applicant? That's my concern, is if there are 3 steps, conceptual, preliminary, and final, I don't want to give green lights to people, even though we're not officially voting on it until final. I don't want to give green lights and then at the final say, oh, but we haven't liked this from the beginning. I mean, just for example. So I'm just confused on the difference between, if we give someone conceptual, we should be voting on approving that concept, maybe.
And that's something that, we can certainly look at and see. Conceptual is just saying, hey, here's what I think at the last meeting, it was a good example is Anderson Brothers Bank. They're wanting to, demolish a structure. They're putting in a teller area. He's saying, hey, here's this project. Here's what we want to do. We want to get your feedback. Before we move forward, we're getting your feedback. These are not final plans. This is just an idea. This is a concept at this point. And then if he doesn't, he's generally what happens is they get feedback. They take that feedback and then they make, necessary changes. And then they come back for what's called the preliminary. So you're basically giving at that point, at the preliminary approval of the plan. So that's why it's important to do the conceptual. So I wouldn't say that conceptual is, we're approving your plan. We like it, because then what would be the point of a preliminary approval?
Yeah, but what's the point of a preliminary when, like Jacqueline said, the design has not been really liked since the beginning, and I am referring to these 2. And like I said, I was also not at that September meeting and was sort of blindsided by Kathy Rock when I got back from California. And so I did call Troy to discuss, and he said nothing was decided upon. You just gave suggestions, and so that sort of eased my mind a little bit until all of a sudden on February 11th this gets published and new riverfront property is going to be built, and the pictures that are shown don't even look like Conway.
Well,
Right?
Go ahead.
You could deny preliminary.
You mean conceptual?
No, preliminary. I mean, conceptual, like I said, I'm of the opinion, and how it's historically been done, that conceptual review is just introducing the project to the board and getting feedback from the board. And then preliminary review, you could say, no, because you're asking basically for preliminary approval of a project. Now, granted, they'd still have to come back for final review, but that is something that you could consider.
But and I'm just taking off from also what Jacqueline was saying, because I haven't also had so many of these in my tenure on the board. It seems like it goes in circles, because if he's coming to us for a preliminary review, then like Jacqueline said, there is a supposed green light on a project that it doesn't seem like any suggestions were taken from the conceptual review.
I understand that. And, certainly, when staff looks at something that is going before CAB, we can at that point say, okay, these were concerns. We don't see that they've been addressed, or to be prepared for questions or concerns from the board at the meeting. But again, at conceptual review, they're just introducing the project. Preliminary review, it's within the CAB's purview that if the project did not, if they did not take your comments into consideration, then you could deny the preliminary review and say this, we need these changes to be made, or to come back with a different concept. That would be within your purview to do.
My impression on the last meeting, or September meeting, is he understood all that and was going to work with us and come back with our ideas to put in it, which he didn't.
So are you saying instead of postponing this preliminary review, we should have denied the preliminary review?
You could have.
Perhaps a good
I recommended maybe, hearing the applicant and, bringing those concerns to light. But I understand Zoom is not always user friendly. I totally get that. And that's why I'm glad we're going to be going back to in-person.
Yes, me too.
It'll be a lot easier. I totally understand. But yes, if you chose to, you could have denied preliminary review.
And I think deferment is the correct move here, and to give us an in-person meeting, and maybe we can sort of hit the reset button with should being more clear on our expectations for how this property might come to look like in the future.
Okay.
That can be best done in an in-person meeting, perhaps.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
Ma'am.
Okay, so Matt, Jamie, Troy, Mr. Wallace, as I said before, if you want to send things to Jacqueline, she's going to compile that for us to be a little bit more prepared as to what we think both of these buildings should look like. If you don't want to, that's okay too. But I just want to be a little bit more prepared than just like 3 days or 4 days beforehand looking at something and then coming to a meeting. So if Jessica, if I send that to you, or are we able to get what was approved and then other items that possibly we think we would like it to look like? Because even bands I wasn't crazy about, but we did finally come to some kind of consensus. So
yeah, and I understand the issue is it's a timing issue, because our deadline is literally like 10 days before your meeting. So the deadline to get everything for the next CAB meeting, and then staff has to have some time to actually compile the packet and write all of the papers that we put in the packet. So that takes time. So I don't
want all this in the packet. I want us to be, or maybe I'm misstating, I want us to be able to look at ideas that don't really have to go into the packet, or do they? What do you think?
The problem is that that if I send the board information and we communicate as me, staff, and the board, that's could be considered a meeting,
Okay,
and it's not advertised. So that's the issue. So I mean, if a couple of people exchange ideas, I just can't recommend that. I cannot recommend that because, my job is to, tell you Robert's Rules of Orders, how the meeting, works and operates. And anytime that we communicate outside of a regularly scheduled meeting, unless it's information for that specific meeting, it could be considered a quorum and, we could potentially be in violation.
What
okay,
about
well,
what about a closed session?
I have to check on I will have to get back to you on that. I will have to check with somebody else about a closed session.
Yeah, executive session, I think, is reserved just for HR matters and contract discussion. So this would not apply.
That's right. Jacqueline's correct.
so how is there a way to, I'm not saying get around it, but so the entire time is not taken up viewing our suggestions? How are we able to do that before March 10th? Instead of just like spouting off or, verbal bombing to all the things that we don't like and that we would rather see.
Well, my recommendation, honestly, is to send me everything that you would like to have in the packet. And then I can put it in the packet. I know that it's still only a few days ahead of time, or let's see, you get it. I might be able to try to get the packet to you a day earlier. So maybe instead of Friday, I can send it to you on Thursday. That gives you guys about a week to look over everything and then put it in the packet. And then honestly, that's just something that is going to have to be discussed and hashed out at the board meeting. And then if there's any changes that you still want to see or any suggestions that you want to make as a board to the applicant, then that would be the time to do it. And if you have to defer it again, then you have to defer it again if there's still some things that you want.
And guys, I want to jump in here too. This is a difficult thing because CAB can't design it for them. I mean, you can have suggestions, but they really, need to go by. We have the historic design guidelines that they can use as they move forward. But this is a kind of a weird situation that isn't normally something we do for CAB to give, information for or try to design it for them. So we just need to be careful here how that's done.
Yeah, and she's absolutely right, and I should have pointed that out. But what I was, if you have examples, of other buildings, that's fine. But yeah, absolutely. As far as making suggestions for the applicant, Mary Catherine's absolutely correct.
Yeah, I think that was maybe I didn't say that properly. I realize we can't design it for them, but if the design that came or that was published or that came in front of y'all in September or us, there can be strong suggestions, can't there?
Yeah, and I just wanted to, let's see, there's something that, while we're on board input that I wanted to, in your guidelines or in the Historic Design Review District guidelines, there is, something that states in there that, the board should recognize change. So over time, changes are made to most buildings individually. It's in Section A, Chapter 1 of the guidelines. And if you guys don't have guidelines that readily available, it's on our website. If you click the Planning Department link, there's a list of different things like the Unified Development Ordinance, the Historic Design Review Districts, and some applications. And I do encourage you guys to just take a look at that and read Section A. That kind of talks about some of these concerns and the changes that happen in historic districts over time. But if you guys will just, if we can just do that, anything that, individually that you want to send to me that, for examples, And we can put that in the packet, but again, we can't make suggestions. And then we'll just have to, you know, make sure that the applicant, that it is discussed with the applicant at the meeting, the next meeting that we have.
Well, and I'm sorry to take so long, but with what Mary Catherine said, you know, I realize that we can't design this, but my question is, you know, this does have to be approved by us to move forward, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question that's sort of not really related with design concept, but more just for Mary Catherine. With all of the development going on along the riverfront, including all of the 3 different projects we sort of have in mind right now, is there any plan for a seawall or something, especially on the Ocean Fish Market side, to shore up some of that land? Is that part of the
That's something that we don't have anything like that. Like I said, they're still in the conceptual phase. But that is something they'll have to go through the proper permitting, not only with the city, but the Army Corps. So that's something that we'll have to work out with them for what will be required there. I imagine something will be, but we're not to that.
So that would be paid for by the city, or would that be on the property
We're still in
development?
negotiations for all of that, so I don't have a straight answer.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
We're still negotiating with the developer.
Anybody else?
Yes, I would like to make a suggestion that we meet with city council at some point to make sure we're on the same page as things like this and tree board stuff.
Anybody want to comment on that? Or, you know, American, is that something that we are able to do? Yes or no?
I'm not sure that's, what are the concerns specifically? What is it that you'd like to discuss?
They're doing things about the tree board that we have no idea what they're doing. We can't get any answers.
Nothing has been done to the tree board. No amendments have taken place at this time. If an amendment is proposed, we'll certainly make that clear to the tree board if something changes. But as of right now, nothing. There's no amendments ongoing. It's just discussion.
I just like for all of us feel comfortable that we're on the same page, them and us.
Yeah.
Yeah, just as like MC said, right now, I think there's just discussion. There's not actually any ordinances that have been formed or any proposed changes or anything like that. And like I've explained, if there's anything, if any proposed changes do come up, I'll be sure to inform you guys.
And it'll require hearings and all that. It's not something that can just be changed. It'll have to go through the entire public hearing and readings at council if there is any changes to the ordinance. So it will be clearly advertised.
Okay, so I mean, we would have a point that we could have a say.
Absolutely. Anybody from the public would, yes.
Okay, well, I guess what Duck is asking, I mean, and Jessica's saying that she will do it for us, we could know before the public does, correct? Or no?
No.
Anything, because I think we were sort of blindsided with the tree thing. Duck, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay.
Yep.
Which tree thing?
The trees that, remember I told you yesterday that were proposed to be cut down behind the surgery center. Is that right, Doug?
Yeah, on the Laurel Street. Yes.
And what was this? What was the concern with that, or specifically?
The oak trees?
Well, one thing is one of the council members, again, this might be misinformation, was quoted in the paper saying that we've got to change and change this tree ordinances so we can get more development in here.
And again, that is something that council does have the ability to change it if they choose to do so, but that has not occurred yet. But if it does, it will have to go through the public hearing process.
Okay, I mean, and I'm sorry we're taking up, a lot of your time. I just think we want to be, apprised of things and not really be blindsided and feel, like we were left out or, because it seems like it, and I know this has nothing to do with you, but it does seem like many times when things come in front of us, it's like it's already been done and then we're expected to approve it. Like, I don't know where the communication falls down or falls short when people are, coming into downtown Conway and opening businesses, that they don't have to come in front of us for signs or for tearing cutting a tree down, or it's almost like they do and then come and ask forgiveness, and we aren't given a choice. Are we going to approve it? I mean, what are they going to do at that point?
Right, and the minute someone comes in for a permit through us and go through the proper channels, we bring it to you. So yes, if that is the case, it's not information we're holding back from the board, that we didn't receive the information.
Thank you.
And when somebody applies for a business license, when a new business owner applies for a business license, they are told that they have, they do a zoning compliance and they're told that they've got to go to CAB. Unfortunately, we still have people that, think it's okay to put a sticker on the window or a door. That does happen occasionally. And we do our best to make sure we catch that.
Right. But a lot of times, like, things, not everyone goes through the permitting process like they should. So sometimes we hear things after the fact also. So it's not the board being left out. It's just sometimes folks,
it runs rampant.
Folks don't do what they should, unfortunately.
It runs rampant. Okay.
So what you're saying is if the council decides to change the tree ordinances and don't discuss it with us, we just have to go with it?
They have that ability to change the ordinance. They do.
Without discussion.
It would have to go through the public process. So it's not something that would be done behind closed doors. It would have to go for readings at council, and at that time, if members of the board had concerns, they could express them at that time.
And again, if that does happen, as soon as, staff is made aware or told to move forward with drafting any amendments, and it becomes, public knowledge, then, like I said, I will inform the board, the tree board. And anytime that a tree is not able to be removed, just like I'm not sure what lot exactly, if it wasn't permitted to be pruned or removed, they'd have to go to the tree board if the city arborist didn't grant a permit. So, I'm not sure what lot exactly you're referring to, but if that was not permitted, they would have had to go before the tree board.
That's right. And a lot of times, Wanda is giving tree permits all over the city for different things, but like Jessica said, only certain things have to come to the tree board.
And they could appeal to the tree board. Let me rephrase that. They could appeal to the tree board.
Right.
So if permits denied, they could appeal to the tree board.
Right.
That's what you're talking about, the behind the surgery center, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Because there's oak trees back there, correct?
Yes.
From what I recall. Okay. All right. So any other board input? Staff input?
The only thing that I had was, I told you last time that the Quattlebaum awards, we finally were able to get everybody scheduled and go out and get pictures. The mayor was able to present the awards in person, and we did pictures, and I told you I'd bring those pictures before you and let you see each one. This was Derrick Law Firm. And here's the Surgery Center of Conway that we were just and here's Papa's General Store. for the mural. And Mr. Smith's son there accepted the award on his father's behalf. And then this is 1311 Lakeland Drive, the new house. And here's Miss Karlowski.
Congratulations, Jacqueline.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very beautiful.
That's a
You're
great
nice,
photo.
sir.
Thank you. It's a work in progress.
Isn't it always?
Yeah, she's got good bones. So we're good.
And that was all I had.
Thank you for showing us those pictures.
Thank you, Jessica.
So I'll entertain a motion. Somebody wants to make it to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. Sorry for the hot wind, but thank you for listening.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
So we're in person next time, March 10th?
Yes.
Great.
Same place, right? That we were before?
Public safety.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank y'all.